Hey everybody, this is Miss Youngblood here, and I'm going through the geometry concept that we were going to be covering in session 1 for this week. So session 1's concept is just an area review. So we're going to go through what area means and review how to calculate the area of different polygons that we've already learned how to calculate the area for. So this video and these assignments should be more of a review for you all. But first, let's talk about what area is. So area, I'm doing the Khan Academy assignment. This isn't an actual assignment for you guys. It's just an assignment I picked that I thought would be a good example of how to explain what area is. So for this first assignment that I'm going through, we're finding the area by counting unit squares. So area is just the space inside of a polygon or a figure. So for this particular problem, they say that each square is 1 square centimeter, and they ask us to find the area of the shape. So literally, all you have to do is count how many squares are in this outlined shape here. So if we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the area of this figure is going to be 14 square centimeters. And again, that's because we counted how many squares were in there. I know that explanation was lengthy, but that was the first problem, so I wanted to make sure you understood it. This one, we actually have a nice shape, a rectangle here. So I'm actually going to clip this and put this in my notes because this one is actually very important because it's going to lead us into our next session very nicely. So put that in the notes. And I'm going to switch my screen so we can actually take a look at how we're going to find that area. So again, there are 2 ways to find this area. We can count like we did before. So if we count the squares, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If we count, we see we would have 12. And let's see what our units were for this problem. I'll switch back to that screen later. It said the units were 1 meter square. So we have 12 square meters, right? Because we counted 12 squares. Another way we can calculate the area of a rectangle, which most of you I know will remember, is to multiply the dimensions. So we know this length here that I just drew over is 3, right? Because there are 1, 2, 3 squares. This length here is 4, and that's because there are 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. So we have a 3 by 4 rectangle, so we could have also found this area by doing 3 times 4. And we'll get into that in more detail in the next practice session or practice set. So again, we found 12 by counting the 12 squares or multiplying 3 times 4 or 4 times 3. Same thing, equals 12. Okay. So that answer for that problem, switch back to my other screen. That answer for that problem, is the recording? Yes, I am. Should be 12. So we'll type 12 in that box. Next question. Again, we have an irregular shape that has dents and stuff in it, so it'd be easiest to just count how many squares we see. So we see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This one's going to be 13 square units. Next one, just count the shape. So if you want to, you could break this up. We have 1 rectangle here. So this is 2 by 3. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I think I'm going to start breaking things up because I think you guys got the hang of it. I'm just counting. This one, again, we have just a rectangle. So we can count the squares 1 by 1, or we can do what we just did in the previous example where we're going to multiply the lengths of the dimensions of the rectangle, excuse me. So we have 2 squares here, right? So this length is going to be 2. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares here. So this length is going to be 6. So 2 times 6 gets us 12. Just like the other one, probably the same, just different dimensions. You could have also counted all the squares and gotten 12. This one, again, I'm going to break it up. So if we have this rectangle here, we have 2 by 3. So this is going to be 6, 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. So this one is 9 square centimeters. And last problem for my set, we have this backwards L shape. So again, it's probably easiest to just count it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Awesome. Yep. Okay. So again, the purpose of this practice set, again, it's not assigned to you, was just to review what area is, which is the space inside of a figure. So in the next practice set, we're actually going to look at areas of rectangles. So again, this is an assignment for you guys, just going through it to review it, because I think most of us are pretty familiar with finding the area of a rectangle. So they ask us for the area of this rectangle. Well, based on what we just did, I'm going to copy this again and put this in my notes. Based on what we did in the previous example, don't cover stuff. We're just going to multiply those two dimensions. So for this example, let me switch my screen. In this example, our two dimensions are 8 and 6. So 8 times 6 is all we're doing, right? Area of a rectangle is base times height. So we're just multiplying the two sides that make a right angle. The 8 and the 6 make the right angle. So we're just doing the area equals 6 times 8, which gets us 48. So the area for this problem should be 48. So let me go back to our other screen. 48. And the reason the answer is in square centimeters is because this unit or this dimension is centimeters, this dimension is centimeters, so the units are square centimeters. That's where the centimeters comes from. In this one, they ask us, which of the following rectangles have an area of 24 square centimeters? So this one's actually looking at factors. So like we want to find two answers, right? So two rectangles that when you multiply the dimensions, you'll get 24. So if we look here, 4 times 20, right? If you multiply these, you would get 80. They're trying to trick you. They want you to just add them. 4 plus 20 is 24. When we're finding the area, we have to multiply. So A is not the correct answer. If we look at B, we have 3 times 8, right? So 3 times 8 is 24. So that's an option. That area, the area of this rectangle is 24. And then here for C, 6 times 4. If we do 6 times 4, again, we get 24. So the area of this rectangle is also 24. So remember what this means is that if we place this on a grid like we had in the previous practice set, that there are going to be 24 squares inside of here. This one's a little different because it's tilted, but if you add the squares together, they're going to be like kind of broken apart. But if you add all those areas together, it is going to equal 24. These are our two answers because this one doesn't work. 5 times 5 is 25. Close, but not quite. So that's that example. The next one, what is the area of this square? So this is actually a really good example to put in our notes. So if you're watching this later and you're jotting stuff down, you might want to jot down this example. So I'm going to add this to the notes. I'm going to take a moment and pause just to get that situated. All right, so we have this example set up. We're asked to find the area of this rectangle. So if we're looking at the area of this, square. So because it's a square, they tell us this length is 6. Because it's a square, all of the sides, all 4 sides have to be equal. So this length here also has to be 6 meters, right? So again, to find the area, we're multiplying the two sides that make the right angle. We know this is a right angle, even though they didn't draw it for us because they told us it was a square. So we're just going to do 6 times 6, which gets us 36 meters. So that answer for that problem should be 36 meters. So if we go back to the Khan Academy screen, pull that back up, 36 square meters So I should have technically, let me change that. So let's switch back to that sketch screen. I do want you guys to get in the habit of being precise with your units. This is going to be 36 meters squared, or squared meters. And this one, I believe it was in centimeters. Yeah, so this one should have been 48 centimeters squared. So you do want to get in the habit of using the correct units. It makes your life easier when you get into higher math classes. So switch back to the browser, and we said this was 36. Nice. This one, same idea, just multiply them. So 6 times 5 gets us 30 square centimeters. This one again, same idea. 9 times 6 gets us 54 square units. So this one they just say units, right? So it's square units, or units squared. This one is another square like the one we just did, so I won't copy this example. So if this is 4 and it's a square, all 4 sides have to be the same. So this down here must be 4. So we would get 16. 4 times 4 is 16 square units. And then in this last one, we're doing the same thing. Don't let it trip you up that the rectangle is tilted. You're still just multiplying the 2 sides that make the right angle. So 5 times 10 gets us 50 square centimeters. And that's it. Yay! Keep growing, keep going. Yes. Oh, keep going, keep growing. Silly Youngblood. Okay. The next practice set I want to go through is area of right triangles. So we're actually going to copy this and try to look at how this is connected to what we just did with rectangles and squares. I'm sure most of you are like, Miss Youngblood, I already know this formula. If you already know, you can just skip this part of the video. But gotta help out some other people who need this review. So if we switch back to our sketch screen. So this was my first problem in Khan Academy. When you're finding the area of a triangle or right triangle, all you're doing is multiplying something similar to what we did with rectangles, and I'm going to go too soon. So if you look at the direct connection between a right triangle and a rectangle, like here, we can see if we cut this rectangle in half, we're going to have a right triangle, right? So if we found the area of this whole thing and took half of it, that would be the area of that part, right? So another way that you could see that is if we make this whole rectangle, right? This would be 8. This would be 12 still, so we could find the area of this whole thing and then take half of it because we just want this half, right? So we're going to find the area of the rectangle, base times height, and then take half of it. That's where that formula comes from, okay? So the area is just the base and height, which are the 2 sides that make the right angle. So it's just going to be 12 times 8 divided by 2. So 12 times 8, 12 times 8, 96. Ooh, some blood. A little rusty. So we get 96 divided by 2, which gets us 48. Another way we could have done it, which I actually did in my head because it made it a little easier for me, I divided these first. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 times 8 is 48. I could have done 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 12 is 48. They didn't give us any units, so technically this would be 48 units squared, or square units. All right, so our answer for that one should be 48 square units. Go back to the Khan Academy browser. 48 units squared, or square units. Nice, just 3 more. So now in this one, they tried to trip you up a little bit, so I am going to copy this example. Actually, no, I'm not, because hopefully they give us another one like this. I don't want you guys to think that we only multiply these because they're the same, right? So when you're finding the area of the triangle, like we just said, we're going to multiply the base and height, 2 sides making the right angle. So that's these 2 3's. So we ignore this 4.24. So we're doing 3 times 3 divided by 2. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5 units squared. So that's why that one is like that. This one, we're just doing 5 times 3 because those are the 2 sides that make the right angle. So 5 times 3 gets us 15. And then, don't forget, we're taking half of the area of a rectangle, so we have to divide that by 2. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Last one, perfect. So I'll put this one in the notes for us. All right, so I did add this one to the notes. I think it's a good example of a right triangle where they give you a little bit of excess information. So we have to find the area of this. Again, we're multiplying the two sides that make the right angle. So the two sides that make the right angle are the 8 and the 6, right? So we're doing base times height. So 6 times 8 divided by 2. 6 times 8 is 48. Divided by 2. So the area for this right triangle is going to be 24 units squared. All right. So again, we don't use this 10 because it's not the base or the height. You have to use the two sides that make the right angle, 8 and 6 in this specific example. So if we switch back to Khan Academy screen, we got 24 for that triangle. Nice. So that concludes kind of the review. Now I'm going to work through the actual problem sets that I assigned you guys. So I'm going to show you how to go. So if I was a learner, I'd click up here, go to my learner home, and you see I have the courses I'm signed up for. We're in Geometry, Youngblood. So these are the 3 assignments I gave you guys. So let's start with area of triangles. I don't know why I gave you that in that order, but it's okay. So area of triangles, I did give you 7, but it's basically the same idea, right? So you're just doing base times height. So with this one, we're doing base times height. So the two sides that make the right angle are going to be this 5 and this 4. Keep in mind, even though that this 5 is not directly inside of the triangle, it's still the height because it's connecting this vertex to the opposite side, right? So the distance from this vertex to this base is 4. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 5. Distance from this vertex to this base is 5 units. So that's the height of the triangle. And we're connecting it to this side, so this is the base, given the way that this figure was drawn. So again, base times height divided by 2. So that's 20 divided by 2, which gets us 10. This one, we're doing 4 times 12, right? So this is where the right angle is. Again, this is the height going from the vertex to the base. So 4 times 12 is 48, divided by 2 is 24. This one's a little more similar to what we just did with right triangles. So 4 times 3 is 12, divided by 2 gets us 6. This one, we're doing 4 times 14, and we're going to divide that by 2. So again, the height and the base are making this right angle here. So 4 times 14 divided by 2. So I would do 4 divided by 2 to get 2. 2 times 14 is 28. This one, again, the distance from this vertex to this base is 15. So that's this height, right? Height is 15. Base is 6. So 15 times 6 divided by 2. Well, I would do 6 divided by 2 first to get 3. 3 times 15 gets us 45. This one, this is the height, this is the base. 2 times 4 is 8, divided by 2 gets us 4. And last one for this set, we're doing 16 times 12. So remember, the base and height make the right angle. This is the height, this is the distance from this vertex to this base. So this is the height, 16, this is the base, 12. So 16 times 12, I would do 16 divided by 2 first to get 8, and then 8 times 12, like we already said, is 96. Or you could just use your calculator. Yay, and we finished. Great. Okay, so that's that assignment. The other assignment I gave you that you probably want to do next is parallelograms. So parallelograms are very similar to rectangles, right? We can think of them as tilted rectangles. So the area is the same. And the only thing you want to make sure you do is that you want to make sure that you are using the base and height, right? So you want to use the two sides that make a right angle. So copy this, and this is pretty similar to rectangles, as I said, so it's not as challenging as the triangle. So I'm going to pause it and set up my notes. Okay, so we're currently looking at how to find the area of this parallelogram. So you can think of a parallelogram as a tilted rectangle, right? So it has the same properties, which means that this side is the same as this side. So if this side is 10, this side has to be 10. And we don't know these two sides, but if we knew them, we would know that these two sides would be congruent as well. So again, this side is 10. So the formula is the same, right? So it's like a tilted rectangle. We're not changing the area. So the area is still base times height. So again, we're just multiplying the base and the height. So the height is the distance from, I guess you could still think of it as the distance from a vertex to a side as we do in a triangle. So the distance from this vertex to this side is 8. So this height is 8 and the base we are using is 10. So again, just use the two sides that make the right angle. So this area is going to be, is going to be 8 times 10. Again, we're not dividing by 2 because we're not taking half the area of the rectangle. We're taking the area of the same rectangle. It's just basically tilted. So we have not changed the area. And they don't give us units, so we can say the units are units. So the area for this one is going to be 80 units squared. If we switch back to Khan Academy screen, we said that this was 80. Oh, I switched out of it. My apologies. We were in parallelograms. Oh, I hope I get the same problem. I do. Ooh, so we got 80 square units. All right, only 4 to do for this one. The next one, very similar. This side, or this height, is 14. These bases are the same, or these sides are the same. So if this is 6, this base has to be 6. So we're just doing 6 times 14. How can I think of 6 times 14? I would think of that as 6 times 7. So 6 times 7 is 42, and 42 times 2 gets us 84. If you did your long, magic 2, carry the 2s process, that works as well. So again, we're doing the same thing here. Our height is 12, making this right angle. If this side is 10, this side has to be 10. 12 times 10 is 120. Again, do not divide by 2 because we're finding the area of the whole tilted rectangle. And this last one, again, this height is 2. If this side is 3, this side is 3, so the base has to be 3. So 2 times 3 gets us 6. All right, so now we're going through our last set. So our last set is area of trapezoids. So, clicked out of it. So Miss Youngblood. So let's go, just 4 problems. So you can kind of think of the area of a trapezoid as the area of a rectangle and triangle combined. So I'm going to copy this and put this in the notes. So give me 1 moment. Okay, so the key thing with trapezoids is that we have to remember what the different parts of the trapezoids are. So the key features of a trapezoid is that it has 2 parallel sides, right? So these sides with the little arrows on them are parallel. And the 2 parallel sides are called the bases. So you have 2 bases. You have B1, base 1, and base 2. 2 bases. And then the height, that's the other distinct feature characteristic of a trapezoid. So the height is the distance between the 2 bases. So the height makes a right angle with both bases, right? These are parallel. So you can think of this as, what did we learn about with parallel lines? Consecutive interior. You can think of it as alternate exterior or alternate interior, how those angles are congruent or have to supplementary add to 180. So if this is 90, this has to be 90. Regardless, the height, right? So this would be our height, connects the 2 bases. So the area of a trapezoid, you can kind of think of it as finding the area of a rectangle and triangle combined, if that's helpful. If not, you're just doing the height plus the sum of the times the sum of the bases, right? So the height times B1 plus B2 all over 2. So it's kind of combining the formulas for triangles and rectangles. So basically we just plug in the numbers that we know. right? So we already know the height is 6. Let me verify that I am recording. The height is 6. The bases are 2 and 4. And then again, to take into account these slanted lines that kind of make up the triangle aspect of the trapezoid, we're dividing by 2. So just keep in mind that you have to do order of operations. You want to make sure you add these before you start multiplying. You could distribute, but that might, make your number necessarily big. So we have 6 times 6 divided by 2. 6 times 6 is 36 divided by 2. So that area of this trapezoid is going to be 18. So our units are centimeters. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. The units are centimeters. So the area is going to be 18 square centimeters, or 18 centimeters squared. So that's going to be our answer in Khan Academy for this first problem. Switch back to the Khan Academy screen. Pull that back up. So we said our answer was 18 square centimeters. Next one, very similar. So again, we know this is a trapezoid because it has 2 parallel sides and 2 non-parallel sides. So it has 1 pair of parallel sides. So to find the area of this trapezoid, we're just going to add these two, right? So 7 plus 8 is 15, multiplied by the height, which is 4. So 15 times 4 gets us 60, divide by 2, and that gets us 30. This trapezoid still looks the same. Okay, I'm trying to find a different one to put in the notes. So again, we have our 2 bases, the 2 parallel sides, 5 and 7. So we're going to add the bases. So 5 plus 7 is 12. The height is 3, so we're going to multiply that 12 times 3. So 12 times 3 is 36, and divide by 2. So take into account these tilted sides. Last one, give me a good one. Oh, not a good one, but I'll still put it in. Actually, no, they'll be okay. Just watch the video if you don't think the notes explain it enough. So again, these are our 2 bases, 4 and 6, because they're parallel. So we're going to add these. 4 plus 6 gets us 10. The height is 6. It connects the 2 bases, makes a right angle with both bases. So again, we're doing 10 times 6, which is 60. Then we divide by 2. So 60 divided by 2 gets us 30. So the area of this trapezoid is 30 square centimeters. Yep. So that concludes my video, just reviewing how to, what area is and how to do the assignments that were posted. Shouldn't take you as long as it took me. I just wanted to make sure you guys understood it. If you have questions, feel free to reach out through email. We can set up appointments. I'll be sending an email about more details on how you can do that. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.